because I feel like it's the fear from business, but then it's also the fear of like motherhood. Like I gotta make sure that this goes good because like I have kids to take care of. I need to make sure this goes good because then people are gonna look at me like in the beginning when they used to look at me and say, you should just get a regular job.
Welcome to Mindset Mastery with Julissa Edwards, the podcast dedicated to helping high performers unlock their true potential and cultivate a powerful mindset for success. I'm your host, Julissa Edwards, a mindset coach and advocate for healthy high performance. Join me on this transformative journey as we delve into strategies, insights, and inspiring conversations with experts and thriving high performers. Get ready to master your mindset, elevate your performance, and create a life of purpose and fulfillment. Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to another interview style episode. We have an amazing guest this time around. Imani DaCosta. She is an online business manager and virtual assistant agency owner and also a virtual assistant mentor. Her company, Imani DaCosta Co, is a boutique agency that assists entrepreneurs that heal, educate, and empower the collective. Imani is a mother to two small children and continuously emphasizes how important entrepreneurship is to her mental and physical health and the quality time she gets with her children. We went into so many topics in this episode that honestly, it's being cut into two because there was just so much juiciness, so many different areas of expertise that Imani had to share her wisdom on, all of course about her mindset. I think honestly this is probably one of the top episodes when it's like this is someone who truly has mastery over her mindset, and it is shown how she has been able to overcome many different adversities in her life because of her spirituality, her intuition, and her mindset. So get your pen and paper ready. This is a really heartfelt convo about entrepreneurship, mother, raising kids, growing, healing, leaving people or elevating and having to leave others behind. We get into it. It's really beautiful, so enjoy. I'm super excited for this conversation because, as we were saying prior, we have so much in common. We're both entrepreneurs, we're both mamas to little ones around the same age, and I really adore and resonate so much with your views on how you handle this era of motherhood and this era of business, which we're kind of also in the same boat of as far as like how many years we've been running our online businesses. So I'm so excited to have you here. I want our audience to learn from you because I feel like you're such a true embodiment of doing things now that people think that you have to do later after you're like super successful. It's like, no, that comes because I'm doing it right now. So tell us what you do for a living, what do you do in your business, and how you ended up getting there.
Okay. So I am a virtual assistant and online business manager. I'm also an agency owner and I do virtual assistant mentorship. So I ended up getting there first. Well, let me fast forward. Backtrack. First, I was actually a health coach. I have my degree in health education and promotion. I was doing health coaching, and eventually, once the pandemic hit, I decided to pivot. I ended up having my son, and then it was really this place of which direction do I go in and what do I do, because I have this degree, I have these certifications, but now I have this baby. I don't, maternity leave or take unemployment, which one was going to be more financially like better. And then it was also well, if I take maternity leave, what happens when I have to go back to work? Because I was only bringing in about like $3,000 at the time a month,
Mm-hmm.
after taxes, and daycare is like 1,500, right? Because I'm in New
Yeah,
York City.
yeah.
So it just didn't make any sense. Even the hours I had to work, it wasn't gonna work with the daycare schedule anyways, right? And then it was also all of this feeling of what time am I really going to have with my son?
Mm.
And yeah, so I decided, you know what, I want to start my own business. And eventually I invested in mentorship. And then I realized at the end of that, I didn't want to do health coaching. I actually really loved the back end of setting up my business and the process and
Mm,
the systems, all of that, I loved it. It came super like naturally to me. So I decided to pivot into that. And now I scaled to an agency. So I have, my online business management agency and virtual assistant services. And then I have my mentorship. But in general, I work 20 hours or less a week. I had
okay.
another baby. So I have two babies, a 3-year old and a 1-year old. I'm home with my 1-year old 24/7 and my 3-year old's in a specialized school, for children with autism. Yes, autism. So yeah, and it came with a lot of just realizing what do I want to do now to be present, to
Mm,
juggle everything that comes with the newborn, then the autism diagnosis, then the
yeah.
therapies and everything that my son needed. And I just realized that as a mother, I need to be present. But I could also have my business. So I just really structured all of that around I gotta work these
Mm,
20 hours or 15 hours a week,
make it
prioritize the
count.
baby, and then take care of my son's coordinating all his therapies and his schooling and everything like that.
Okay, yeah, I don't think we've really had a chance to talk about all of that, like how you sat with the diagnosis and how much change that must have brought.
Yeah.
And I think you're such an example of a woman who's empowered because I don't have a child with special needs. I've mentored, or I should say, I have given therapy to the parents of those that had with special needs in the past of my past work, and
Mm.
knowing what comes on that end. But when you think about running a business, that's already hard enough as it is, let alone being a mother running a business, but also having a child with special needs. And here you are, that
Mm.
it's your reason for, it's another big reason for having your business to have more time and flexibility and support.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So when did you find out that he had autism?
So when my daughter was 4 months. So my daughter was 4 months, and then he got diagnosed like 2.5. And then, they, so in New York, there's a lot of free options, right? There's the free options to, or like we can have people come to your house, for therapies and all this other
Yeah.
stuff.
Hmm.
Um, my son's in 4 different therapies. So he was in ABA therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, physical therapy. And the thought of
Mm,
4 different people coming to my home, basically it was 40 hours a week of therapy, literally 30 to 40 hours
wow.
all together, yeah, like with all the therapies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so and then I had a newborn and then I'm breastfeeding and then
Oh,
I
yeah.
was overwhelmed with like I can't have all these people in my house. It's winter. I got
Hmm.
this baby. I'm breastfeeding. I barely get time as it is. And I know how I am. I'm going to always want things to be clean, in order. And then I was thinking, how is my son going to focus when he's going to see me there? The apartment wasn't that big. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So then I realized, okay, these free options are just not going to work. So I ended up looking into,
a
oh, and then I had to
school.
work. Yes, so then I found a private
Mm,
daycare actually, and that was the one that was 1,500 a month. But that daycare, he was able to do all his therapies there. A lot of the teachers were, um, either like speech pathologists. They left the DOE system. They had their degrees in special education, early education. So I loved it. I loved the vibe there. And did I have the money in the beginning to invest in the $1,500 a month for daycare? No. But and at the same time, because I needed to work more to get things done, I'm like,
mm.
I need to hire. So I actually put him inside that daycare and hired 2 people, literally in the same month. Actually, this it was January 2023 that all of that happened. So it was honestly like I didn't have time to really think about what I wanted to do or like
Yeah.
how it was going to get done. I just knew he needs all this therapy. He needs social interaction too, because with the pandemic, it's like he never even interacted with kids. When he first saw a child like his age, he was terrified. He didn't know what it was. He
Mm,
cried for like 40 minutes. So it was also that like we've been in isolation, honestly, for and I'm like one of the first of my friend group and family members to have a baby. So I
oh,
didn't have
wow.
other, yeah, first grandkid on both sides. Like I
Oh,
don't have,
wow.
yeah, like I don't have
Okay.
any babies around me ever. So it was just one of those things that I'm like, my son needs social interaction. He needs his therapies and needs to be in that type of
Mm,
environment. So literally in that month, I'm like, let me hire, I need 20 hours a week, like of this work taken care of. And then I need him to be inside of this place and he needs to get his therapies. So I made that decision really quickly, but I was very happy because afterwards I felt like I didn't have time to like decompress from everything that came with it because I could never have my phone on Do Not Disturb. It was either a therapist, a coordinator, a teacher calling me. Even to this day, I cannot have my
Mm,
phone on Do Not Disturb. Um,
mm,
and it was overwhelming at first. It was very overwhelming because it's just like I can't even have a second to think. Like I don't even have like, and it got to a point where sometimes as like an entrepreneur and as a mom, it's just like I'm tired of thinking. Like I just want to shut my brain off and stop thinking 10 steps ahead, 20 steps
yeah,
ahead.
yeah.
What
Talk
and
about it.
even like right now, I'm just like, okay, afterwards I know I have to go food shopping, I have to do this. Oh, next week we have to go do this, the bulk shopping. It just never stops. So
Yeah.
I feel like it took so long, probably like after the diagnosis and putting him into that and just like hiring people, all that. That happened in January 2023. So probably by March is when it like settled, when I was like finally able to like get that mental quiet. Because it was so like I felt like I was on autopilot. I was honestly on autopilot. It wasn't like an enjoyable time at all. It was very like overwhelming and very kind of, I feel like when you have like a child with special needs, you kind of feel like I should be doing more. I need to do more and more and more and more. And it feels like even if you do all of this, it's still not enough. Like you still think I could be doing more. And it's like I had
To
to really
support
tell
them.
myself, yeah. And it's like I had to tell myself, like, I'm doing enough. I'm doing the most I can. And then I have another baby. So it was kind of like I kind of felt like I'm all about my
Neglecting
son,
one.
my son,
Yeah.
my son. And then I'm like, okay, but she's breastfeeding. She's fine, whatever here. And then kind of, but I wasn't present with her. Like I wasn't as present as I
Mm,
wanted to. Probably
mm.
from like that month 4 to 6, I was just kind of like focused on my son. And then it made me feel guilty. Like, damn, I know, I know he has special needs and I know I need to focus and put a lot of myself in him, but I also have another child and I also have myself and my family. So it was definitely one of those things that I had to get quiet in my mind. I had to definitely get quiet in my mind because it was so many moving parts. And then everyone is just like, you're doing such a great job. And I'm like
But I
hanging on
don't
by a
think they fully
thread.
knew, yeah, that they
No.
fully knew
Mm-mm.
the severity of all the stress that you were going under.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're like friendly on Instagram, but yeah, I definitely didn't know any of this either. Not that I would have, right? But it's hard. It's hard. A lot of mamas suffer in silence, I would say,
Yep.
because there is so many of the mental loads of motherhood that are just not spoken about. That's why
Mm-hmm.
I love having raw conversations like these, and also just linking up with other mamas that are down to keep it real because a big part of the work that I do is I help leaders become better leaders. And for me, a mother is a leader with
Mm-hmm.
1000%. You know, a mother is a leader of her household. She is the matriarch. She's the one who sets the tone, right? If we're frazzled, they're frazzled,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, and let alone women, mothers in business. Then we're leaders in many aspects,
Yep.
right? Leading our team and making sure, and also being a leader of self, of like, okay, when do I get some time for me here?
Mm-hmm.
And I say leader because so many mamas, so many people neglect self care, mothers especially. And then
Mm-hmm.
think about like running a business. Like there's so many pots to feed. There's so many hands to feed of like who gets our attention and where, you know?
Yep.
And it's just a lot. So I feel for you, girly. I definitely didn't know, but I'm happy. I'm happy that, you know, you're talking about it. And it just, you correct me if I'm wrong, it just sounds that you do practice graciousness towards self. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, of course there are moments where we're like beating ourselves up, but more often
Yep.
than not you're taking the stance of like reflective and being like, no, I am doing the best that I can right now, and I do need
Mm-hmm.
some time for me. And your business
Yep.
is allowing you to have that kind of, I would say, thought process and flexibility and graciousness. Would you
Yeah.
agree?
Yeah. I feel like it was kind of weird because I felt like last year was one of those years that I'm like, you know what? Let me just keep on going, keep on pushing, keep on going, keep on pushing. And thankfully, it's like even through the ups and downs of like my personal life, my business was always like the most stable thing. and it was always like the thing I didn't have to run from. It was like the constant, whether it was like collaborating with other business owners, getting opportunities. It was always the thing that I'm like, oh, these people understand me. They understand me. They're with me. They're supporting me. They know it's gonna be okay. They know I'm stressed out, but they're willing to work and help me navigate and help me process. And even my team members, like as they were like learning me and I was learning them, because I just hired them, it's kind of like you have to have a level of like patience to like train people and show people what you
Yes.
need done and how
And
you
it
like
takes
to work.
time.
Yeah, and I feel like
Mm-hmm.
my main thing, which is like even my team, I love them because it's like
Mm-hmm.
even to this day they know like what Imani doesn't want to do is have to think extra. Imani doesn't want to micromanage.
Mm-hmm.
Imani doesn't. I already
Mm-hmm.
got 1,000 things I'm micromanaging and everything, making sure, looking after the teachers,
Mm-hmm.
making sure the therapist, this, because especially with all these systems involved when you have a child with special needs, you, I'm my son's secretary. I'm literally his
Yeah.
secretary. It's like a full-time job. So, and you
Mm-hmm.
have to constantly double check and triple check the insurance, the this, the that, the paperwork, the coordinator, the caseworker. It's so many things that I feel like when I had my team, I'm like, listen, it just needs to just be particular. Just look over things, just do all this stuff. And the thing is, honestly, I didn't have to say it. I think they saw like she don't need any extra stress. Let's just get things
Mm-hmm.
done and make sure it's like we look over it, we ask for feedback, we ask for
Mm-hmm. That's a
questions, and just
well-led
like,
team.
yeah. And then
Mm-hmm.
it made me realize like, how do I lead? How do I
Yes.
take a step back though? Because a part of leading is letting go.
Yeah.
A part of just like motherhood too is like, it's not selfish to take care of yourself. To prioritize self-care is not being selfish. So I feel like I had to
Mm-hmm.
learn those things, and it
Mm-hmm.
all happened like in the same time. But more than anything, the business, like that gave me a new identity. That gave me more
Absolutely.
drive. And then now it gives me more opportunities for even for my son. Like now I think about like in the future, what about jobs? What about this? Where's my daughter gonna work? What type of life do I want them to have? And it's like, or they could just work for my company or like the businesses I create in the future. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
even think
Mm-hmm.
about them having to really be molded into what society says they can do or can't
Ooh, let's
do.
talk about that. Yeah, we got
Yeah,
so much to talk about.
especially having like a child of color that has autism, and it's like
Yeah.
everyone just says all this stuff that he can or he can't do. And when I tell you, I'm like, my son is doing so much stuff that I'm like, this kid, I think he kind of plays like he doesn't know how to do things because he knows a lot of
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just every single day he does something new, and I'm just like, okay. And even his therapist, they're like, he's doing really well. And I'm like, thank you. But I think too, like it's
Mm-hmm.
someone told me too, don't clip your child's wings before they can fly. Because a lot of the times I used to be quick to like, oh no, he can't do this. He can't do that. I don't think he can do it, just because I didn't want people to really notice the difference. So it was like the fear of him excelling, I guess, that let
Hmm.
me just say, oh, maybe he can't do it, because if he doesn't do it, then it's fine because nobody expected him to. But then when I stopped doing that, I did it, I think about 5 times, honestly. And then when I started seeing like, why did I just not let him do it? Because he's capable.
Mm-hmm.
He's more than
Mm-hmm.
capable. So it was
Mm-hmm.
a lot of last year learning to let me step back. Let me let my son spread his wings, learn how he learns at his own pace. But I feel like I was stopping him a lot because of like the fear of, well, what if he can't do it? But then he always did. So it taught me a lot about like myself, about business,
I was gonna
because
say that. Yeah.
yeah, I applied the same thing to business. Like there was so
Mm-hmm.
many things I saw that excelling and doing better in business in a weird way, it scared me. It made me feel like maybe I can't take this much on. Maybe I can't juggle this much. Maybe I can't do it. And I would have that literally in my head, so that if I did get an inquiry, I'd be like, I don't know. It seems like too much pressure. I don't know. Like it was a few
Mm-hmm.
people I had turned away because I think it was the fear of maybe I can't do it. But I never even gave myself a chance. So it was
Okay.
a few things
This
that
is a
people
good
don't,
mirror. This is a
yeah,
really good
people.
mirror
Mhm.
opportunity. So, I always feel that I think life in general is just a long journey of inner work, right? It's just you're continuing to unravel, learn more about yourself, reconnect more with your past. And
Hmm.
so, what's in these days, and I'm for it. It's but what people are more conscious of, I would say, is like inner child healing. And what I love about inner child healing are just it's just really getting to know yourself time and time again, and that's at every stage. So
Hmm.
there's like this picture in my head that I can, if I'm having a hard time, it's me accepting that I'm having a hard time, but through like this third person that floats over me, if that like a very other like another self. And it's like,
Hmm.
oh, Julissa is having, like, let's say I'm laying down in bed and I'm having like a hard emotional day. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, like I can see myself in my bed having a hard day and able to label it as like, you're just going through a hard day and not feeling those emotions, if that makes sense. Just
Yeah.
observing
Yeah.
it through that lens, but allowing it to happen. Not trying to
Yeah.
affirm my way out of it, not trying to just like work out really quick. Just like, we're just going to sit in this, but I'm watching myself having a hard day and that's okay.
Yeah.
I'm just having a hard day. Right. And I bring that up because that same kind of like reflective stance when we do this inner child healing, and I'm bringing it up because of what you said about your son, so I promise I'll link it back. This is how I process things.
Hmm.
um that's the same kind of energy that I see myself looking at my past selves. So the other day, yesterday, when I was going on for a date night with my husband, I was in the car just thinking, and I was like, wow, like, look at all that I'm doing in this chapter of my life that I get to do. I'm a mother of two beautiful kids. I have a
Hmm.
business. All the things that we were taught that I was just like reflecting on. And at the same time, like how hard it was. I think having a helper now in the house, our beautiful au pair, Baloo, she's making us realize how much we did by ourselves for so long.
Hmm.
For so long that we just pushed through it because, that was just what we were doing. And there's no
Yeah.
shame in that. But I think that when you're in the fire for so long and then you finally get some alleviation, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
like this is
It's
like, and
different.
honoring that part of my life too, of like, look how much we were doing alone by ourselves
Hmm.
in a different state, all the things. And also, like, we were joking because we had a wedding to go to and our parents were
Hmm.
here to visit, but they're not here all the time, so we still have to
Yeah.
be the one to like take care of the kiddos. Like, you can't just leave them with our parents, right?
Yeah.
Not for long periods of time. And we went to a wedding. It was 13 minutes away from our home. They lived super close to us.
Yeah.
We literally attended the wedding for like 3 to 4 hours, went back home in our dresses and tuxes, put our
Yeah.
kids to bed because they wouldn't do it anybody else,
Yeah.
and then came back for the after party.
I love that.
Okay, so we were reflecting on that of like, yo,
Hmm.
like everybody was like, yo, y'all are some G's, and for us, it was like, this is just what we do. We're parents, like, this is just
Hmm.
what we do. We figure it out.
Yeah.
And while I honor that, we were also reflecting yesterday evening that like it it didn't have to be that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? So
Yeah. Yeah.
in the act of reflecting, it was like in 10 years, when I'm in my 40s, I'm going to be able to reflect back on this chapter of my life and get to know my inner child there because I'm very
Yeah.
young now.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? So this act of
Yeah.
always learn, like, I want to be in love with me. I think that's the greatest path to a healing journey. Like, I want to continuously get to know
Hmm.
me. And
Yeah.
with what you're saying with like you clipping his wings before he was ready or even giving him a chance and how that reflected into your life, it was just like
Hmm.
when you were talking about all that. Well, I know special needs children come with a different slew of stressors. That's just a fact, right?
Hmm.
It's still what I teach my mamas in the motherhood program. It's still no matter what, your child is your greatest lesson of self.
Hmm. Hmm.
How, and you saw the connection. How am
Yeah.
I, what are my perceived limitations? What are my beliefs about the world? And how is that showing up as I parent my children?
Hmm.
Because it's what's happening.
Yeah.
Right. And you made the
Literally.
connection of, I was doing that for me. I didn't want to take
Hmm.
on those clients. So
Yeah.
I love that that's what I meant when I said before, like, I feel like you are going through all these hardships, but you're in a very reflective state where you're catching yourself and you're growing through it.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. So
Let's
you
go.
said that upon finding out about his diagnosis, you knew it would be a good move in the business to hire more support. And
Yeah.
so it sounds like it kind of all happened at once. Like you have a newborn who's like 4 months old.
Yep.
You just received a diagnosis for your son. You got to do all these appointments and new things that you have to now learn to master.
Hmm.
And you were like, I'm going to go ahead and hire not one, but two people onto my team. That's a
Hmm.
whole other slew of responsibilities of how to properly lead a team and train them. And that's a whole thing, right?
Hold on. Yeah. Hmm.
So I talk a lot about like faith in entrepreneurship, like
Hmm.
just ultimate belief in self. Like, did that come up for you? Did you have questions about like that's an added expense
Mm,
of two more people?
so it did come up and I did think about it, but to be honest, this is any decision that I make to be honest, every decision I make in my business, right? Anything, honestly, I always look back and reflect on the beginning. So I always think about when I invested in my mentor, right? I made that decision within 2 weeks. And I did not have a job. We had just moved. I was, Medicaid, food stamps, everything. And my son was about like 10 months, right? And I made a decision, did not tell anybody to invest thousands in a mentorship program that I really didn't know what it was going to lead me to do. Right. And that's when I had nothing. So every single time I make a decision in my life or my business, I think if I invested thousands when I had nothing, why would I be scared to invest thousands when I have something? Like I have something. I just
Mm,
need to grow it. I just need to nurture it more. I just need to just go like really focus
mm,
and put everything into that and it's gonna be fine. And then I always
mhm.
listen to like my gut feeling that's like, you need to do this or you are going to break mentally. Like we already were there last time. We already went through postpartum. We already went through this spiral and depression and all this stuff. And so you can get help. Money should not be the barrier, even though sometimes it is, but it's like, do you believe enough like in yourself and in what you have to do, the ultimate bigger goal for you to like invest in this? And I was just like, yeah. Because I knew I can't have people in my house 40 hours a week.
Right.
I was super stressed. I would have been super stressed. I don't even like people around when I'm like breastfeeding, let
Yeah,
alone
yeah, yeah.
four people. And then I'm trying to like relax sort of. And then I'm trying to, massage my boobs or something. It's
Yeah,
just like so
yeah.
many things and like take care of myself, take a shower, clean. And I was just like, I don't even want people in my space. Like I need to do this. And I need
Mhm,
people to take
mhm.
care of the business because like my brain was just on overload. So it was literally, again, that was another decision I made in less than 2 weeks. I think we got the diagnosis like on a Monday, and I made a decision by like that Friday that I had to hire, and in less than 2 weeks I hired.
Wow.
Yeah, and then put him in the daycare. Yeah.
Can you tell us what those two people in your business were hired for to help alleviate your stressors?
So I hired two virtual assistants. It was because I had basically I needed help with client work, but I also needed help with my own because I felt like what happened when I was just like a solo VA and online business manager is that I was doing great with the client work. I was doing, client work. It was good, as good, as good. But in my own business, I wasn't posting on social media. I wasn't being consistent with my
Mm,
own podcast, my own marketing, all of
mm,
my stuff was like to the back. And I'm like, okay, well, how can I grow this thing don't, if I'm not working on my business, I'm only working on my client's business. You have to do both. You have to learn how
mm,
to figure out both. So I'm like, okay, if I can have a VA to help me with client work and a VA to help me with my back end stuff and organize my thing so we could start to like scale this agency, then we can
mm,
actually have traction here. And then once I
mm.
started doing that, that was in January 2023. Once February hit, I had 5 consultation calls. And out of those five, I got
Okay.
3 new clients. Yeah.
Okay.
So and I didn't like, it just flowed. And I was like something that's like, Imani,
Mm,
focus on this because you are going to burn out. And I just knew the place I was mentally the year before. Well, not the year before, but when I was pregnant with my son in the beginning. And I was just like, I can't go back to that place. Like there's nothing that is going to cost me my peace. That's why even after I gave birth to my daughter, since I had postpartum last time, I hired a postpartum doula because I
mm,
said to myself, I need the help. I'm
Yep.
home
Yep.
with my toddler, and then I'm gonna have a newborn. I can't do this by myself.
I love that.
So
I
I
love your
hired.
mindset.
Yep. And with
You're,
that, even with that, I didn't really have the money for it. But again, my mental health and what I needed to be like present enough for the kids, I needed to do it. And it wasn't even like everyone I know in my life, no one has ever had a postpartum doula. They're like, oh, that's what you get your mother or your grandma to do. I'm like, you see me, I have young parents. My parents are in their 40s. They're
mm,
young. They had me as teenagers. So I don't have the
mm,
default grandparent that can come and babysit. No.
they're
You know
working.
what I
They're
mean?
like fully
Yeah, they're
thriving in their
working.
lives. Yo,
Uh-huh.
so your parents are in your 40s?
Yeah, they're young. My mom had me at 19. Me and
Okay.
my twin, because I'm a twin.
Oh, you're a
Yeah, twins at 19.
twin.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. How old are
You didn't
you?
know that? I'm gonna be
Mm-mm.
30. I'm gonna be
Okay,
30.
okay. So yeah, girly. When
Yep.
you were talking about that you were the youngest in your friend group and in your family, I'm like, oh my God, like you're pioneering. Like you got
Hmm.
business. Is anyone else a business owner in your family?
I'm the first entrepreneur in my family. I'm the first one to have kids.
Girl.
The first, yeah, even my twin, she doesn't have kids, not yet.
And where is your
Uh,
twin? Where does she live?
she's in New York too, but she's in Long Island.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
And you guys are
so we're
close?
close. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
close. So we talk every day on FaceTime, but we used to, see each other all the time. But now we haven't lived together in like over 4 years.
Yeah.
Since I had the kids, because then I had gotten my own place. But we talk every day on FaceTime, and we see each other at least twice a month. We try to like make our time, make our dates. Yeah, but
Yeah.
she's still, she helps me in the business as well. She's my
Okay.
number one supporter. Yeah, so she helps me with the business too.
Oh, so she's working for you.
Yeah, she works for me. Yeah.
Liddy. Wow. Okay, so
So
you're really like you are leading in so many ways. I don't think have you did you and I know I'm asking these questions, but like have
it's
you
okay.
noticed that you're doing so much?
I mean, I don't. I feel like I'm just even. I don't know. I feel like it's definitely one of those things that like I'm just doing it, and I'm just kind of like kind of like honestly, I don't really recognize it. It's just like I'm just doing
Mm.
what I have to do, and even like my grandma will say, "Oh, you're a really, you're doing so much. You're doing so good," and I'm like, I'm just doing what I think any mother would be doing. You know what I mean? Like if you, but I do see that not everyone has these opportunities, but I don't really notice it from like the outside looking in. I'm just doing what I gotta do.
I mean,
Um,
literally the perfect interviewee for for mindset mastery because that's really and what I hone in, this is why I call our audience, my audience the healthy high performers. I think you have been gifted with a mindset that allows you to think this way. Not that you didn't do any of the work yourself. I think
yeah,
that is evident. But yeah, you're in this pace of life where you're just going, killing it. Stressors are
mm,
coming along, killing it.
mm,
And what I really admire about you is that even through this hardship, it's like you're on track to giving yourself even more self-care, more like I'll say that it feels energetically right now that you're still it's not that you're struggling, but you're like on a horse. It's like
yeah,
like you're on it. You're on the
yeah,
track, right?
mm,
But I think you're smart enough and you're still enough, like you have stillness,
mm,
groundedness, that you're asking for help immediately when you see fit. And there's
yeah,
no second guessing, like that intuition with yours is very strong, and
yeah,
you're just doing it. And what I hear from your stories and your decision making processes, one, I feel like you're organized as hell, which I'm
yeah,
like, oh my
yeah.
God, can't wait for this to be a thing. I feel like you're
Very.
organized as hell. And I also see you riding a lot more on faith, but not just like bullshit faith. We're not, and I don't mean that in a bad way, like where it's just like, oh,
Yeah,
we leave it up to God, the universe. Like, no, there's strong, aligned, grounded faith there because,
yeah,
like you said, when you had nothing, you made something. So now that you have something, how could you not make something out of that?
exactly.
Right? And the other avenue is always just fear. Right.
I know.
So, can we talk about that a little bit too? Because I think people listening to this podcast, whether you're looking to be an entrepreneur or you're just a leader, when you lead, you do a lot of scary things and you kind of have to ride on that faith and that grounded faith, that unshakable faith, if you may. And the
Yeah,
other option, just looking at it for what it is, it's always just fear.
Mhm.
So, when has that come up for you, and how did you get so good at choosing faith?
I feel like in the beginning, I'm not gonna lie, I was always scared. I was always fearful. Even now, I feel like I still have those moments where I think, I feel like everyone in general has been so programmed that when something is going so good, when things are going so good, I used to wait, when's the bad part gonna happen?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's no way that things are that good. So
I
I
was
used to
gonna say,
always
yeah,
wait, like, okay, so much good has been happening. So now something bad is going to hit me, like something's going to
yeah,
come. So I
that's
had
so
to stop
real.
doing that. I had to literally stop doing that. And I had to, it does take, I think, entrepreneurship, of course, is a big mental game. And I feel like
Mm-hmm.
once I stopped being, because I feel like it's the fear from business, but then it's also the fear of like motherhood. Like I gotta make sure that this goes good because like I have kids to take care of. I need to make sure this goes good because then people are gonna look at me like in the beginning when they used to look at me and say, you should just get a regular job. Oh, you're probably not gonna make that much money from that. Oh, how much is like how much are you able to even make from that? And when people just kind of didn't believe or they constantly um told me things that, no fault of their own. I feel like, no one has really seen what we're doing now, like in this space, in this time, especially the older generation. It's kind of like you have kids now. You have to be more stable. You have to make sure you have the job and
Yeah,
the benefits and the pension and the
yep,
A, B, and C, the whole list, right?
yep.
But then when they see what I'm doing, like my grandma, I remember the first time I was explaining to her and like how much I was getting paid, she asked me if it was legal. She said, "You sure that's legal? I don't think you can charge that much. I don't think you can do that much. I don't, are you like, do you pay
Mm.
taxes?" I'm like, "Yes, I pay taxes. The business is registered. Like it's
Yeah, yeah,
a
yeah. This is
legit
a real
thing." But
thing.
she was just kind of confused and she didn't understand, well, how these people that they never met you, they pay you so much. And I said,
Mm.
I don't know.
But it
It
keeps
still
happening,
messes
Grandma.
with me. Yeah. So I
Yes.
had to explain to, her, and then even, my sister and my mom, they kind of, were kind of unsure, like, how is this all going to play out? Even my dad didn't really understand, but now that they see, they're like my biggest supporters. They always supported me,
Mhm.
but now it's like when they see she really knows what she's doing, she'll be fine.
Yeah, you
They
do.
don't, yeah.
You move like a hustler business owner. Yes, you do.
I think it's the New Yorker in me. But I think it's really definitely one of those things that I'm like, to say I'm not scared is not, I can't say that, but going back to always where it was in the beginning, I feel like the faith over like blows the fear out of the water when every single time I get scared, it's like this little voice in my head that's like, but it worked out. Look, it worked out. It's fine. You're gonna be okay. You'll
Mm.
be taken care of. Like, look what happened when this happened, and look what happened when this happened, and look when you thought everything was falling apart, but it was really all coming together. And there was so many parts of my life that
Mm.
happened that I was thinking, what's happening? What's going on? Like, what is this? Like, I don't understand. And then the month or two after, I realized everything came together and I got even more support, even more money, even more. So it always worked out that way, even when I thought I was down, but I wasn't really down. It was just kind of like, this is a moment to rest. I had to like say it in my head, like if there's a slower month or there's a slower, if things aren't going my way, it's not supposed to go that way. Like, it's supposed to be, you have to rest, you have to reflect, you have to sit with yourself, you have to wait, you have to be patient, and you have to be disciplined. And then it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna sit with myself. It used to be days that I used to sit there like, I'm doing it, I'm waiting. Now it's up to you because I'm not doing anything else. I'm sitting here and I'm gonna wait for you to do
Wow.
what you want to do because I'm gonna sit here. And I literally did that for months. And I'm like, okay, when things were getting blocked, I would just laugh. I'm like, okay,
When
okay,
things were
fine.
getting, you said blocked?
Blocked, yeah.
What
When
do you
things were
mean?
like, when there's certain things that I wanted and it was just like block, it was
Mm.
resistance, it was too many roadblocks to get to what I wanted.
Too
And it's
hard,
like,
too hard.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like if
yeah.
it's that hard,
Then it's
Imani,
hard
that's,
for me.
it's not for me. So stop. Like
Mm.
something, whatever you want, it's going to become easier. And even this year, I said to myself, I say it every single day, everything this year is going to be a yes or no. It's going to be super clear, no uncertainty. So if anything is uncertain or if there's like hoops in my head that I have to run through, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. I was
Mm,
literally like, I'm not doing it. And
I
that's why,
love that.
I told you about my like week. It's been kind of
Yeah.
hectic, but then abundance is coming my way. And I'm just like, well, this is exactly what I asked for. So that's what I'm getting. And that's in my mindset now that I'm like, I am scared here and there, but I have a lot
Mm,
of faith of like, I'm doing what I've done. I've laid the foundation. I'm continuously putting in the mental work, not just the physical work. And then
mm-hmm.
it's like it's gonna come to me. I don't need to force or beg or try to find it. It's literally it's on the way. That's
Wow.
always my mindset. Like it's on the way. It's gonna be okay.
It's on the way. It's going to be okay. Thank you for tuning into Mindset Mastery with Julissa Edwards. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast to receive future episodes packed with valuable insights. Remember to follow us on social media at thehealthy.highperformer for more inspiration, tips, and updates. If you found this episode helpful, we'd appreciate it if you could share it with your network and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us as we continue to empower high performers like you. Until next time, keep mastering your mindset and thriving as a healthy high performer.